Okay, so this question says, a retailer imports leather boots to sell in their shops. The cost C of importing X pairs of leather boots is given by this formula. Okay, so they've given me a formula there, C. That is for the cost. Okay, the revenue brought in by the sales of X pairs of boots is given by this formula. So revenue, okay, that's like all the money that they take in. Okay, so all the selling price of all the boots that they sell added together. Okay, so all the money that they put into their till. Okay, we need to find the profit in euro made by the shop from selling X pairs of boots. Okay, they say that word show. So we've seen this word show in this paper a good few times. Okay, remember what they mean when they say show. Okay, they want us to actually work out the profit, and they've just given us the answer. Okay, so we need to work out the profit as if we haven't been given us the answer, as if they haven't given us the answer. Okay, so I know how to find profit. Okay, it's the selling price minus the cost price. Okay, they didn't give me selling price here, so I put 2 and 2 together and I see, okay, the revenue here is what they're taking as the selling price. Okay, the reason being that it's not selling price of one individual pair of boots, okay, it's the sell of all these X pairs of boots. Like the same way the cost is not just the cost of one pair of boots, it's for X pairs of boots. Okay, so for the profit here, I am literally going to find, well, what is the revenue? Take away that cost price. And I'm going to just fill in what those are. So or is 4x by 13 minus 0.015x. Okay, and from that I need to take away what the cost price is. Okay, so my cost price is 13x plus 1200. Why did I sub that in brackets? I sub that in brackets to remind me that every part of this formula has to have the minus acting on it. Okay, so when I go and simplify this out, the minus has to act on each part there. Okay, so I'm going to multiply out by this bracket here has a 4 multiplying it. Okay, so I'm going to multiply there the 4x by the 13 and by the minus 0.015x. Okay, so I'm going to get here 4x by 13, so 52x. And then 4x by a minus is going to give me a minus. Okay, and then I have two things that I need to multiply together. Remember, it's number by number, letter by letter. Okay, so the number by number, the 4 by the 0.015, I can type into my calculator. Okay, it's 0.06, and then I have x times x, which gives me x squared. Okay, so that is what's multiplying out here. Okay, then I have a sign in between with the next bracket, which means that's all that's multiplying here. And now I'm on to my next part. Okay, so this is all that multiplication done. Then I have a sign, which means I'm on to the next part of my question. Okay, and I have to have the minus acting on all this, which is going to give me minus 13x and a minus 1200. Okay, so let's simplify this. We have a quadratic here. Okay, we have an x squared, which means I'm going to rearrange it as well to have my x squared part at the start. So I get, there's no like terms with my x squared. It's just 0.06 x squared. Okay, and then I have like terms here. I have a 52x and a minus 13x. Okay, so that's going to give me plus 39x. And then my minus 1200 doesn't have any like terms. Okay, so that is what I get for my profit. And that is exactly what they asked me to get. Okay, so it's just a bit of confidence given to myself there that I got the correct answer, but I still had to show it. Okay, the other thing that's great about this, them giving you the answer, is that even if you didn't get part A, you can still do part B. Okay, part B needs the equation for the profit, but they actually gave that to you up here. Okay, so they want the marginal profit. Okay, we don't even need to understand what that is. They tell us it's dp dx. Okay, it's the first derivative. So we need to find the first derivative, dp dx. Okay, and then they say when x is 100, just focus on getting dp dx first. Okay, so dp dx Well, what I really should do before I actually go and do that is I should write down, well, what is P first? Okay, so that I have it directly in top when I am getting my first derivative, just to make sure that I don't make any silly mistakes, okay, or at least reduce the likelihood of making silly mistakes. Okay, and then I can get dp dx, because it's literally just every one of these terms I'm multiplying by the power on the x and reducing the power by 1. Okay, so here I'm going to get that it's minus 0.12x for the first part. Okay, and then I have here plus 39. Okay, remember when the x doesn't have a power in the original, in the derivative it just disappears. And then here, when there's no x shown in the original, in the derivative, that full number disappears. Okay, so the number in front of the x, I should have said, stays, but just the x itself disappears. So this is my derivative, and now they have asked for it when x is 100. Okay, so they have asked me now to fill in that x is 100 into that first derivative. Okay, so dp dx when x is 100 is minus 0.12, and it was multiplying the x, so now it's multiplying 100 plus 39. Okay, so that's minus 1.2 plus 39. Okay, which is, sorry, I just multiplied that wrong. I should have said that that was minus 12. Okay, so I multiplied by 10 instead of by 100. So when I do that out now, I can just minus the 12 from the 39 to get 27 as my answer. Okay, so 27 is the answer. Okay. Okay. It then says find the value of x which will maximize the profit and hence find this maximum profit. Okay, so they've already introduced calculus to us. Okay, we need to use that. Okay, and we were given a hint here when it says maximize. Okay, remember what they mean when they say maximize. Remember what we're doing most of the time when they say maximize is we are getting the first derivative, which we've already gotten. Okay, and we are letting it equal to 0. Okay, so for this part C, we've already gotten our first derivative. Okay, I'm going to rewrite it out. So dp dx was minus 0.12x plus 39. Okay, so I need to let that equal to 0 to get the max. Okay. It's worth noting here, because in one of the other questions in this, I was given a cubic, so I had gotten a max and a min. Okay, here, my original shape, the original profit, okay, it was a minus quadratic, it was a negative quadratic. Okay, so it was a sad face quadratic. So I'm only going to have one turning point, okay, and that is the max. So here, this isn't bringing in, it's not going to bring in a quadratic and everything like that. It's just going to give me my one turning point here, which I need to find. Okay, so I need to get x on a side by itself. So we can move this 39 over. Okay, so minus 39 from both sides. And I will get minus 0.12x is equal to minus 39. And now I need to get rid of what's multiplying the x, and I get rid of that by dividing. So divide by what is multiplying the x and divide by that on the other side as well. Okay, so that we end up with x on a side by itself. And then I have to type into my calculator. So I know minus by minus is going to give me a plus. But what is 39 divided by 0.12? And it's 325. Okay, so x being 325 is going to maximize my profit. Okay, now, when I go back and reread the question, it says find the value of x which will maximize the profit, and hence, and using this, find the maximum profit. Okay, so this is the value of X, which is going to get me my maximum profit. But remember what the equation for profit was. Okay, this here, this first line in this is what your profit is. Okay, they gave it to me in the question here. This is my profit here. Okay, so I need to figure out what is the profit if X is 325. So I'm going to write out my equation for my profit again. Okay, so my profit, it was minus 0.06x squared plus 39x minus 1,200. Okay, and I now know that I am filling in 325 for X. Okay, so I am writing out, before I type anything into my calculator, I'm writing out what I would type into my calculator. Okay, so plus 39 by 325 and then minus 1,200. Okay, type it all into your calculator there. And we're going to get that the profit is €5,137.50. Okay, so that is my profit. So, there. Okay. Part D says complete the following table to show the profit made on the sale of X pairs of boots. Okay. So, we need to literally find this. Okay, so for the different values of X, I need to find different values of P. Okay. I was given my function earlier on in the question. I also have it written here on this page. Okay, I need to find my different values for the profit for this. Okay, I'm going to do that in my calculator in a table by pressing mode, clicking 3 for table. And then for f of x, I'm going to type in my function for the profit. So minus 0.06. Okay, then I'm pressing alpha and the close bracket to get the x to be pressed and squared. Okay, then I have a plus 39 by x and then minus 1,200. Okay, I don't have a function for g of x, so I'm just going to press equals to pass that. Now I want the start to be at 0, so when it comes up as start question mark, I'm going to press 0 and click equals, and I want it to end at 600, so I'm going to press 600 and equals. Okay, step. My calculator is going to come up with an error if I try and have this go up 600 steps in steps of 1. Okay, it's going up by 100 each time, so change the steps to being 100. And here now I've been given an input-output table by my calculator, but I need to fill it in here as well. Okay, so for 0, my profit is minus 1,200. Does that make sense? Yeah, it kind of does. Okay, if you go through and like making boots and everything like that, okay, it kind of makes sense that if you don't sell anything, you're going to make a loss. Okay, if you just think back to yourself, like, why have you not started a company yet? Okay, it's because you're probably going to make a loss if you end up not selling anything. Okay, if you sell 100 pairs of boots, you are making a profit of 2,100. 200 pairs of boots is 4,200. Then 5,100. 4,800. 3,300, and then 600 at 6. Okay, if you didn't want to use your calculator, you can literally sub into this the same way we did with the 325. You can sub in 0, you can sub in 100, 200, and so on, and get all these different values out. Okay, it says hence draw the graph of the profit function in the domain 0 to 600. So that just means the different x values on your graph. Okay, nice little hint here, because the graph goes into the minus. Okay, if we had gotten a minus up here and then the graph didn't go into the minus on the y's, then we'd be like, oh, have we made a mistake somewhere? Because I can't possibly graph that. Okay, but they gave us a graph where we can plot this minus value. Okay, so I have to plot for an x value of 0, I have to plot minus 1,200. Okay, so get your pencil, because it's a graph, and go to minus 1,200. Okay, so just less than halfway between minus 1,000 and minus 1,500. Okay, then for 100, I'm at 2,100. So up from 100 and across from 2,100. So about here maybe. Then for 200, 4,200. So 200 here and across. It's actually really hard to follow on the iPad. About here. Okay, just double checking these. 300. So up from 300, so halfway between 250 and 350. So 300 is 510, so up there and across from 5,100. Okay, I'm just going to double check again that that's up from 300. It is. Okay, then it's weird here the way this skipped the 300 mark and all the rest went up in 50s. Okay, but it could be just a mistake on the paper. Regardless, you know how to get 300 there. It's halfway between 250 and 350. Okay, 400 then, so up from 400 and across from 4,800. So about here. Okay, 500 up from that and across from 330. So about here. Okay, that one's a funny one. So the 500 one, okay, because I know it's just slightly more than 250. So I know it's just slightly more than the halfway between those two. So that's why I have put it just there. Okay, and then 600 up 600. So again, just slightly more than the 500 there. So about here. Okay. Now, if you're really bad at drawing your quadratics, maybe draw this in lightly with your pencil first before you go over it dark. Okay, if you wanted to add in an extra little point here, the 325 being your max at 5,1 something. Okay, we are expecting the max to be in around here. Okay, in around there, but they haven't really asked us to use that for the table. Okay, but it is worth noting that this isn't going to be the exact maximum point. It is going to go up a little bit more than that before it turns. Okay, so I'm going to get my pencil out. Okay, and I'm going to go from my x value of 0. I'm going to draw a line the whole way through all of these. Okay, notice that I do stop at 600 because that's where the question asked me to stop. Okay, so I don't keep going through like that. Okay. It then says the retailer imports other boots from the UK. The cost per pair of boot is as follows. Given the exchange rate is €1 is £90, calculate the total cost of importing each pair of boots in euro. So it's not just how much is a pair of boots. Okay, importing it in pounds. Okay, importing it is going to cost what the pair of boots cost. So the £12. Okay, plus my delivery, so £1.20, and customs, so another £3. Okay, so each pair of boots in pounds is going to cost me £16.20. Okay, £16.20. Now, it doesn't want just the total cost of importing. It says find the total cost of importing in euro. Okay, so we have an exchange question here. Remember how we do out our exchanges? We have two ways. Okay, we can say, so from pounds here to euro, what did we have to do? Okay, we would have to divide by 0.9 to get to 1. Okay, so anything over itself gets me to 1. Or what I like to do is I like to say, okay, so let me write this currency conversion as a fraction. And how I decide what goes on the top of the fraction and the bottom of the fraction is that whatever currency they gave me goes on the bottom of the fraction. Okay, so if I was to write them as a fraction, the currency that they gave me is on the bottom and the currency that I want is on the top. Okay, so I can multiply the number that they gave me here in pounds, so the 16.20 I can multiply that by my currency conversion fraction here. Okay, and then that way I'm not getting confused between whether I multiply or divide. I just know that I have to divide or multiply by 1 over 0.9. Okay, and when I do that out, so put my calculator back, so mode 1, okay, 1620, and then multiply by 1 over 0.9, I get 18 euro. Okay, it's worth noting here, guys. It's always worth noting whenever you do a currency conversion or a unit conversion of any sort. Okay, in my conversion rate here, the euro number looked bigger than the pound number. So when I have a number in pound and I need it in euro, my euro number should look bigger. Okay, I know they represent the same value, but the euro number should look bigger than the pound number there. Okay, and then part 2 says if the retailer wants to sell at a markup, so percentage profit on cost price of 80%, calculate the selling price of each pair of boots. Okay, so she wants to add on 80% of their price. Okay, so they cost 18 euro. And she wants to say, so they cost 18 euro firstly. Okay, so what is that? That is 100% of their price. Okay, she wants to add on, so this, see the way it says percentage profit of cost price? Okay, so that's why we're letting the cost price be 100 euro. She wants to sell them for 80% of that added on. So 2 different ways you can do this. You can find 80%. Okay, so how would we do that? We'd find 1% first, and then we'd find 80%. Okay, and you can add that on. Or we can say, okay, if 18 euro is 100%, okay, we can find 180%. So how would we do that? Again, we would find 1% and then find 180. Okay, so no matter what way we decide to do it, we have to start by finding 1%. And how do I do that? I divide by 100. Okay, so that we get a value of 180 is 1%. Okay, so 180 is 1%. And then I can find, okay, so what is 80%? It's not. So I should have said here, so I should stop doing multiplication in my head. 0.18 is 1%. Okay, so I'm going to find 80% then by multiplying the 0.18 times 80. Okay, so that I get here 14.4. Okay, so that's what she wants to add on. Okay, or over here, I can just find it straight away, 0.18 times 180. Okay, so that I get 32 euro 40 cent. Okay, here we do need to add that on. Okay, so what I need to do is, what I am doing here is I'm going to add that on to 100%. Okay, so my original cost price, the 18 euro, so that I get the 32.40. Okay, so either way you do it is perfect, but she wants to sell them for 32.40. Okay, and that's it. Last page for extra work. And remember, if you ever go to this last page, to write it in your question to say, see this on page 26 or on extra work page. And that's the question done.